The Manto Verde desalination plant was seized this morning. The water is gone. The silver supply from the driest desert on Earth just hit zero. They told you the supply chain was unbreakable. They told you the mines were secure. They lied. A critical artery of the global economy has been severed by a group of angry men who just realized they hold the power of life and death over the market. This is not a labor dispute. This is a siege on the infrastructure that keeps your modern life possible. The water stopped flowing hours ago. In the Atacama desert, water is not just a resource. It is the blood of the mine. Without water, the chemical processing stops. Without water, the sulfide flotation tanks sit stagnant. Without water, the Manto Verde desalination plant was seized this morning. The water is gone. Locked inside that earth is now effectively gone. From the driest desert
it does
on
not
Earth
matter
just hit
what
zero.
the spot price says.
They told you
on
the
your
supply
computer
chain was
screen.
unbreakable.
You cannot
They told
print
you the
water.
mines were secure.
You cannot
lied.
print silver.
A critical artery of the
And you
global
certainly
economy has
cannot
been severed
print
by a group
the
of
industrial
angry men
output
who just
that just
realized they
vanished
hold
from
the
the
power
ledger.
of life and death over
Think
the market.
about
This
what
is not
this
a labor
means
dispute
for your kitchen table.
This is a siege on the
This is not
infrastructure
about
that keeps
stock
your
tickers
modern
or hedge
life
funds.
possible.
This is about
The
the
water
device
stopped
you are
flowing
holding in your
hours
hand
ago.
right now.
In the
It runs
Atacama
on silver.
desert,
The solar
water
panels on your
is
roof
not just
run
a
on
resource.
silver. The sterile
It is the
equipment in
blood
the
of the
hospital
mine.
that keeps your family
Without
alive runs
water,
on silver.
When the mine
chemical
stops,
processing stops, the production
without
line
water,
stops.
when the
sulfide
production
flotation
line
tanks
stops, sit
The
stagnant.
shelf goes empty.
Without
The price
the
of
Manto
your
Verde
survival just went
desalination plant
vertical.
was seized this morning.
They called it a
The
strike.
water is gone.
That was the first
silver
lie.
supply from the
Union number
driest
2
desert
walked
on
off the
Earth
job
just
weeks
hit
ago.
zero.
The
They
media
told you
told
the
you it was
supply
a
chain
standard
was
negotiation.
unbreakable.
They told you
the
it was
mines were
just about
secure.
wages.
They lied.
They wanted you to sleep
A critical
soundly,
artery of the global
but they
economy
did not
has
tell
been
you the
severed
truth.
by a group of angry
This was
men
never
who just
about
realized they
wages.
hold the power of life
This
and death
was
over the
a
market.
tactical assault
This is not a labor
on
dispute.
the choke point
This is
of
a siege on the
production.
infrastructure that
By
keeps
seizing
your
the
modern life
desalination
possible.
plant,
The water
they
stopped
bypassed the
flowing
gates
hours
and
ago.
guards.
In the
They went for
Atacama
the jugular.
desert,
They cut
water
the water.
is not just a resource.
You need to understand the mechanics
It
of
is
this
the
stuff.
blood of the mine.
The Manto Verde mine
Without
processes
water,
oxide and sulfide ores.
the chemical
to get the
processing
silver
stops.
out.
Without
They need
water,
massive amounts of water
the
to float the
sulfide
minerals.
flotation tanks.
It is
sit
a chemical
stagnant.
reality. No
Without
water.
the Manto Verde
means
desalination
the recovery
plant
rate
was
drops
seized
to
this
0% instantly.
The water is gone.
There is no backup
The
plan.
silver supply
There is
from
no
the
truck bringing
driest
water to
desert
the
on
middle of
Earth
the
just hit
Atacama.
zero.
The tap is
They told you the
dry.
supply chain was
The
unbreakable.
machinery is silent.
They told you the mines were
The
secure.
silence is the sound
They
of your
lied.
wealth
A
evaporating.
critical artery of the global
You
economy
have
has
been
been
working
severed by a
hard.
group of angry men
You
who
have
just
been
realized they
saving
hold the power
your
of
paper
life
money.
and death over the market.
You thought the
This is not a
system
labor
would
dispute.
protect you.
This is a
But the
siege on the
system is
infrastructure
fragile.
that keeps
It
your
hangs
modern
by a
life
thread.
possible.
And that thread
The
is
water
a
stopped flowing hours ago.
water pipe in Chile
the
that is currently
Atacama
under
desert,
the control of desperate
water
workers.
is not just a resource.
This is the vindication you
It
did
is
not
the blood
want.
of the mine.
We warned you that
Without
the
water,
physical world matters more than the digital
chemical
world.
processing
We
stops.
warned you that
Without
when the
water,
resources stop moving,
the sulfide
paper money
flotation
becomes
tanks
worthless.
Sit
Today
stagnant.
is that day.
Without
the Manto
the
Verde
algorithm wants to
desalination
hide
plant was seized
this
this morning.
panic. The water
It wants
is gone.
to show you dancing cats
the silver
and celebrity
supply
gossip.
from the driest
It does
desert
not
on
want
Earth
you to
just
know
hit
that the raw
zero.
materials for the
They told you the
21st
supply
century are
chain
being
was
held
unbreakable.
hostage. They told you the
Smash
mines
the
were
like
secure
button
to force
They
the
lied.
truth into the open.
A critical artery
Do
of
it
the
for the
global
neighbor
economy
who is
has
still
been
asleep.
severed by a group of
Do
angry
it for the
men
family
who just
that thinks their
realized
bank
they hold
account
the
is
power
safe.
of life and death over
You
the
are
market.
the only warning they will
This
get.
is not a labor dispute.
The news anchors will try
This
to
is
calm
a
you
siege
down
on the
tonight.
infrastructure that
They will
keeps
use
your
words
modern
like
life
temporary
possible.
disruption.
The water
They
stopped
will
flowing
use
hours
words
ago.
like
In
negotiations.
the Atacama desert,
Do not listen to them.
water
They are
is
reading
not
a
just
script
a resource
written by the people who are
It is
losing
the blood
control.
of the mine.
The shutdown of the
Without water,
desalination plant is not
the
a
chemical
temporary
processing
glitch.
stops.
It is a heart
Without
attack.
water,
Even if they
the
turn the water back on
sulfide flotation
tomorrow,
tanks,
the
sit
damage is
stagnant.
done. The chemical balance
Without
is ruined.
the Manto Verde
The
desalination
logistics are
plant
broken.
was seized this
The
morning.
trust is gone.
The water is gone.
This is the trap
the
they set
silver
for you.
supply from the
They
driest
convinced you
desert
that you
on
could
Earth
eat
just
money.
hit zero.
They
They
convinced
told
you that
you
a
the
number
supply
on a
chain was
screen meant you were
unbreakable.
safe.
They told
But
you
you
the mines
cannot
were
eat a
secure.
number.
They
You
lied.
cannot build a shelter
critical
with a
artery
credit
of the
score.
global economy has
When
been
the
severed by a
physical
group
metal
of angry men
disappears
who
from
just
the
realized
market,
they hold the power of
the
life
illusion
and
of
death
the
over
financial
market.
system shatters.
This is not a labor
You
dispute.
are left holding paper
This is a siege on the
promises
infrastructure
while the real
that
wealth
keeps
stays
your
in the
modern
ground.
life possible.
Look at the timing.
The water stopped
This
flowing
is
hours
not a
ago.
coincidence.
In the
This is
Atacama
happening
desert,
exactly when the demand
water
for silver
is
in
not
the
just
east
a
is
resource.
exploding.
It
The
is the
premiums
blood
in
of the
Shanghai are
mine.
already screaming higher.
Without water,
And now
the chemical
the supply
processing
from the
stops. forecast
crops
is being choked off at the
without
source.
water,
It is a perfect
The
storm.
sulfide
It
flotation
is a pincer
tanks
movement against
sit
your
stagnant
standard of living.
without
The East
the
is
Manto
buying
Verde
everything.
desalination
The
plant
mines
was
in the
seized
south
this
are
morning.
closing. The water is
And
gone.
you are
The silver
stuck
supply
in the middle
from
with
the
the
driest
currency that
desert
is
on
losing
earth
its
just hit
purchasing
zero.
power by the second.
They told you the supply
You
chain
might
was
think this is
unbreakable.
far away.
They told you the
You
mines were
might think
secure.
Chile does
They
not
lied.
matter to your
A
grocery
critical
bill.
artery of the global
You are
economy has been
wrong.
severed by a group
Silver
of
is the
angry
most
men who just
conductive metal
realized
on
they
the
hold the
planet.
power of life
It
and
is
death
in
over the
everything
market.
electronic.
This is not a
When
labor
the price
dispute.
of silver spikes
This
because
is a
the mines
siege
are
on the
dead.
infrastructure that
The
keeps your
cost
modern
of
life
everything
possible.
you use to
The
navigate
water
the
stopped
modern
flowing
world
hours ago.
spikes with it.
In the Atacama
Inflation
desert,
is not just about printing
water
money.
is not just a
It
resource.
is about the scarcity of things.
It is the blood of the
and
mine.
things just got a lot more
Without
scarce.
water, the
The
smelters
chemical
in China are
processing
waiting for
stops.
this concentrate.
Without water,
They have contracts to fill.
the
They have
sulfide
factories
flotation
to
tanks
run.
sit
When
stagnant.
the ships from Chile do not
Without
arrive,
the Manto Verde
they
desalination
do not
plant
just
was
shrug
seized
their
this
shoulders.
morning.
The water
They
is
panic.
gone.
They
The
go into
silver
the open
supply
market
from the driest
and they
desert
buy
on earth
everything
just hit zero.
that is not nailed
They
down.
told you the supply chain
They
was
will pay
unbreakable.
any price.
They told you the mines
And
were
that
secure.
price is what you will pay
They
at the
lied.
store.
A
The
critical
inflation you felt
artery
last
of the
year was
global
just the
economy
warm-up.
has been severed by
This
a
is
group
the main
of
event.
angry men who just
Do
realized
not
they
wait
hold the
for the
power of
government
life
to
and
save
death
you.
over the market.
They cannot drill
This
a well
is not a
in the
labor
desert
dispute.
overnight.
This is
They
a siege
cannot
on the
force men
infrastructure
to
that
work at
keeps
gunpoint
your
without
modern life
destroying
possible.
the delicate machinery.
The water stopped
The government
flowing
is
hours
powerless
ago.
against physics.
In the Atacama
they can
desert,
print trillions of dollars.
water is not just
but
a
they
resource.
cannot print a
It is the
single
blood of
ounce
the
of
mine.
silver. Without
They are
water,
watching this just like you are.
the chemical
Terrified.
processing stops.
Helpless.
Without
The
water,
silence from the mainstream
the
media
sulfide
is
flotation
deafening.
tanks.
Why
sit
are they not telling
stagnant
you that a major
without
strategic
the Manto
asset
Verde
has been seized
desalination
because
plant
they
was
do
seized
not
this
want to run
morning?
on the banks?
The water is gone.
They do not want you to
The
realize
silver
that the vaults
supply
are
from
thinner
the
than they
driest
admit.
desert on earth
If
just
you
hit
knew
zero.
how little
They told you the
physical
supply
metal
chain
was
actually
unbreakable.
available.
They told you the mines
You
were
would be
secure.
lining up at the dealer right
They
now.
lied. They need
A
you to stay
critical
calm
artery of the global
so they can
economy has been
exit their
severed by a
positions
group
first.
of angry men who just
But you are not
realized
a
they
sheep.
hold the power of life
You are
and
a
death
wolf.
over the market. You see the
This
smoke
is not a
before
labor
the fire.
dispute.
This
The
is a
siege
siege
on
on
the
the
infrastructure that
is
keeps your
the
modern
smoke.
life possible.
The fire is coming for
The
your
water stopped
savings.
flowing hours ago.
This is the moment
In
where you
the
have to decide
Atacama
what is real.
desert,
Is the paper
water
real,
is
or
not
is the
just a
metal
resource.
real? The workers in Chile
It is
know
the
the
blood
answer.
of the mine.
They did not
Without
seize the
water,
office building. They did not
the
seize
chemical
the
processing
computers.
stops. They seized the
Without
water.
they seized
the
the
physical
sulfide
means of
flotation
production.
tanks.
They
Sit
know where the power
stagnant.
lies.
Without
They told
the
you
Manto
that
Verde
globalization made the
desalination
world
plant was
efficient.
seized this morning.
They told you
the
that
water is
just-in-time
gone.
delivery was a
The
miracle.
silver supply from the
It was
driest
a
desert
lie.
on earth just hit
Just
zero.
in time means
They told you
just
the
about to
supply
run
chain
out.
was unbreakable.
It means
They told you the
there
mines
is
were
no
secure.
buffer.
They
There
lied.
is no safety stock.
A critical artery
When
of
one
the
link
global
in the
economy
chain
has
breaks,
been severed by a group of
the
angry
whole
men
chain
who just
shatters.
realized they hold the power
The
of
link
life
in
and
Chile
death
just
over the market.
snapped. This is
The
not a
whiplash
labor
is
dispute.
traveling across
This
the
is a
ocean
siege
right
on the
now.
infrastructure
It
that
will
keeps your
hit
modern
your
life
local
possible.
economy in days.
The water stopped flowing hours
you
ago.
need to inoculate
the
yourself
Atacama
against
desert,
the false hope.
Water
Your
is
financial
not just a
advisor will tell you to
resource.
stay the course.
It is the blood of
He
the
will tell you
mine.
that commodities are
Without
volatile.
water,
He is
the
repeating a
chemical
textbook from the
processing
last
stops.
century.
He
Without
does
water,
not understand that this is
the
not a
sulfide
market
flotation
cycle.
tanks.
This is a
sit
structural
stagnant.
collapse.
Without the
geology
Manto
is
Verde
failing.
desalination plant,
The
was seized
politics
this
are failing.
morning.
The water
the
is gone.
infrastructure is
The
failing.
silver supply from
Staying
the
the
driest
course
desert
is
on earth
suicide
just hit
when
zero.
the ship is hitting
They
an
told you the
iceberg.
supply chain was
This
unbreakable.
is biological
They told you the mines were
escalation.
secure.
We
They
are
lied.
moving down the
A
pyramid.
critical
of needs.
artery of the global
We are
economy
leaving
has
the
been
luxury
severed
of
by a
investment
group of angry
portfolios
men who just
and
realized they hold
entering
the
the
power
zone
of life
and
and
death
death
over the market.
Silver
This
is
not a
used to
labor
purify
dispute.
water.
This is a siege on the
Silver is
infrastructure that
used
keeps
in
your
burn
modern
creams.
life possible.
Silver is used
The water stopped
in
flowing hours ago.
antibiotics.
In the
When the supply
Atacama
vanishes,
desert, water
we
is
are
not just a
talking
resource.
about expensive
It
iPhones.
is the blood of the mine. We are talking
Without
about a
water,
healthcare crisis.
we are
the
talking
chemical
about a
processing
sanitation
stops.
crisis.
Without
The collapse
water,
of the mine is a threat
the
to your physical
sulfide
body.
flotation tanks
Redefine
sit
what wealth
stagnant.
is.
Without
Wealth is
the
not a
Manto
number.
Verde desalination
Wealth is
plant was
access.
seized this morning.
Wealth
The
is
water is
having the
gone.
material when others
The
silver
not.
supply from
If
the
you
driest
hold
desert on
physical
Earth just
silver,
hit zero.
You
They
hold
told
the
you the
claim on
supply
the
chain was
future.
unbreakable.
You hold
They
the
told you the
battery
mines were
power.
secure.
You
They
hold
lied.
the medicine.
A critical
If you
artery of the
hold
global
paper,
economy has been severed by a
you
group
hold a
of
claim
angry
on
men who
nothing.
just realized they
The
hold the
workers
power
in
of life
Atacama
and
have
death over the
redefined
market.
the negotiation.
This is not a labor dispute.
They are not.
This is a
asking
siege
for
on the
pesos.
infrastructure that keeps
They are
your
holding
modern
world
life
hostage
possible.
for value.
The
You
water
must
stopped
do the
flowing
same.
hours ago. The panic in the boardrooms
Atacama
today
desert
is palpable.
The
Water
executives
is not
at
just a
Capstone Copper
resource.
are scrambling.
It is the blood of the
They
mine.
are calling judges.
Without water, They are calling
the
politicians.
chemical processing
But
stops.
in the high desert,
without water,
a judge's
the
order is just a
sulfide
piece of
flotation
paper.
tanks.
It does
sit
not
stagnant.
pump water.
Without
The power
the
has
Manto
shifted.
Verde desalination
It has
plant was
shifted
seized
from the
this morning.
suits to the boots.
The water is gone.
It has shifted
silver
from the
supply
financial
from the
centers
driest
to the
desert
resource
on Earth
centers.
just hit zero.
You need to shift
They told
your
you the supply
portfolio
chain was
to
unbreakable.
match this new reality.
They told you the mines were secure.
They will try to blame
They
the weather.
lied. They
A
will try to
critical
blame
artery
the
of the global
unions.
economy has been
They will
severed by a
blame
group of
everyone
angry
but
men who
themselves.
just realized they
But
hold
this
the
was a
power of
controlled
life and
demolition.
death over the market.
They pushed the system
This is
to
not
the
a labor
limit.
dispute.
They cut
This
costs.
is a siege on the infrastructure
They ignored
that
the
keeps
warnings.
your modern life possible.
They built a world that requires
the water
perfect
stopped flowing
stability to
hours ago.
function.
In the
And then they
Atacama
created
desert,
chaos.
water is
Now
not
they are
just
shocked
a resource.
that the machine is broken.
It is
Do
the
not
blood
be
of
shocked.
the mine.
Be
Without
prepared.
water, think about the smelters.
The chemical
They charge a
processing
treatment
stops.
charge to process the
Without
ore.
water,
When there is no
the
ore,
sulfide flotation
those
tanks
charges drop to zero.
sit stagnant.
Sometimes they go negative.
Without the Manto
That means
Verde
the smelters are
desalination
desperate.
plant was seized this
They are
morning.
starving for rock.
The water is gone.
This was happening
The
before
silver
the strike.
supply from the driest
Now,
desert
it is
on
a famine.
Earth just hit zero.
The hunger for
They
metal
told
will
you the supply
strip the
chain was
shelves
unbreakable.
bare.
If
They
you
told
do
you the
not
mines
have it
were
in your
secure.
hand, they lied.
You do not
A
own
critical
it.
artery of the global
There is no
economy
escape
has
to
been
other
severed
markets.
by a group of angry
Peru
men who
is
just
blocked
realized
by
they hold the power of
roadblocks.
life and death over the
Mexico
market.
is paralyzed by
This
strikes.
is not a labor dispute.
The Red
This
Sea
is a
is
siege
a
on the
no-go zone.
infrastructure that keeps
The world
your
is
modern
closing
life
in.
possible.
There is no magical
The
supply
water
coming to
stopped
save the
flowing hours
day.
ago.
The deficit
In
is
the
real.
Atacama desert,
The shortage is mathematical.
water is
The
not
pain
just
is
a
inevitable.
resource.
The
It
only
is the
variable
blood of the
is
mine.
who feels the pain.
Without water,
Will it be you,
or
or
will
the
you
chemical
be the one who
processing
prepared
stops? The time
without
for debate is
water,
over.
the time for
sulfide
action
flotation tanks
is now. Sit
Every
stagnant.
minute, the water remains off.
Without the Manto
future
Verde
supply
desalination
shrinks.
plant was seized this
The
morning.
market has not
The
fully
water is
priced this
gone.
in yet.
The silver
They are
supply
still
from
in
the
denial.
driest desert on Earth
They are
just
still
hit zero.
hoping for a miracle.
They told you the supply chain
This
was
is your
unbreakable.
window of opportunity.
They told you the mines were secure.
It is closing fast.
They lied.
When
a
the
critical
major
artery
news
of the
networks
global
finally
economy has been
report this
severed by a
tonight,
group of angry men
the
who just
premiums will
realized
double
they
again.
hold the power of
You
life
are
and
hearing
death
this
over the market.
before the herd.
This is not a labor dispute.
Do not waste this advantage.
This is a siege on the infrastructure
You
that keeps
are the
your
safety
modern
net
life for your
possible.
family.
The
water
government
stopped flowing
has
hours
no
ago.
net.
In the
corporation
Atacama
has no
desert,
net.
they are falling
Water
just like
is
everyone
not
else.
just a resource.
You must build your own
It
floor.
is the blood of the mine.
You must secure your own
Without
resources.
water,
Buying
the
silver
chemical
today is
processing
not an
stops.
investment.
It is
Without
an
water,
act of love.
the
It is
sulfide flotation
ensuring
tanks
that when the
sit
currency fails
stagnant
and the shelves empty,
without the Manto Verde
you have the means to
desalination
trade.
plant was seized this
you
morning.
have the means
The water
to
is gone.
survive.
The silver
desert is
supply from
silent
the
tonight.
driest desert on
But
Earth
that
just
silence
hit
is
zero.
screaming a
They
warning.
told you the supply chain
The
was
water is
unbreakable.
gone.
They told you
The
the mines
metal
were
is
secure.
locked.
They lied.
The system is blind.
A critical artery of
Open
the
your
global
eyes.
economy has been severed
Look
by
at
a
the
group of
fragility of
angry
the
men
world
who
they
just
built.
realized they hold the
It is
power of
crumbling
life and
one
death
pipe
over
at
the
a time.
market. Do
This
not
is
let
not
your
a
future
labor
crumble
dispute.
with it. This is
Victim
a siege on the
or
infrastructure
victor.
that keeps
The
your
choice is
modern life
yours.
possible.
The clock is ticking.
The water stopped flowing
The water
hours
is
ago.
off.
In the
Prepare
Atacama desert,